So I'm sure you're aware that in recent days, the disgraceful president is trying to throw everything at the wall to distract from his Epstein problems. And chief among these attempts would be accusing ex-President Obama of some kind of election cheating, election manipulation in 2016, which is totally bizarre because he's actually on camera saying that the election was fair in the sense that there was no manipulation of the machines, votes were properly counted, but Trump is going on about some kind of investigation that he's supposed to have started. You then begin to wonder, well, yes, but then you became president and then you were controlling all the agencies, and what are you saying, that you didn't know this was going on? This is all in the background. The deep state conspiracy, he's always creating stuff out of thin air, of course, but to distract, to point people's attention somewhere else, complete with, it's not even evidence, it's solid proof, it's treason, perhaps the DOJ will indict and prosecute. Total and complete nonsense. None of this will happen, but in the meantime, red meat to the base and hope for the best. Although, to be honest, I think they're kind of getting wise to it, because they keep seeing the same thing being done over and over again, and the only thing that is missing for them to really turn against him is once the consequences of the tariffs become a reality, and they will, just give it enough time, and that's what's going to happen. And then when people see that not only have prices not gone down, they've gone up. Of course they've gone up. I've seen them go up at the store, there's no question, but this is what's going to happen. And then the confluence of that together with the constant lying and making things up is going to catch up to him. But here what I'm focusing on is Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, which, by the way, is quite a laugh in itself. I mean, you should have to be reasonably intelligent to hold such a post, and also not be a pretty obvious Russian asset. But she's been carrying water for him by, making the announcement, including all kinds of nonsense about Hillary Clinton in 2016 to do with drugs that she was taking, blah, blah, blah. Stuff produced by Russian intelligence. I mean, this woman is just completely out to lunch, doing the kind of things she's doing. Historian Heather Cox Richardson, in her daily article that she releases, her newsletter, she covers this in great detail. But here's the thing. You look at Gabbard's chart, and she's born in American Samoa. There's no available birth time for her. But even without a time in this case, what you see is a whole host of planets. Literally, a stellium counts as a stellium in Aries, and then planets on the other side in Libra. And she has Neptune in the 25-degree range of Sagittarius. And so she is one among several in his motley crew cabinet that are facing really strong Saturn, let's call them headwinds, although to be fair, they really ramp up next year from spring forward, because that's when Saturn starts to move toward the middle of the sign, and it's going to trigger her planets one after another. Even before that, the winter station of Saturn in the 25-degree range of Pisces already hits that Neptune of hers, and that might be enough to cause her grave problems. But if that doesn't do it, then next year it is really, really challenging. And if she survives that, there's the year after that, because her Aries planets extend into 2027. And so the other angle would be that you look at her connections to the president himself. And this is another classic thing that he does so often, is he picks people that trigger his most vulnerable formation in the chart, that Access Hollywood T-square of his, with Neptune, Mercury, Eris, because of her Libra and her Aries planets, linking in that way, which means this person is more likely to hurt you than to help you, even if it takes time for that to be revealed. So that's what we can expect, but once again, we may need to be patient in the near term, because for now, she's out there, spouting nonsense, and nevertheless, time will move in and take care of the problem. As I say, she's one among several, which I've talked about, but I'll be covering steadily to show you that lots of people in the support system that he has are facing the Saturn, in her case Neptune too, because her planet's early enough to already get Neptune pressure next year. But Saturn alone is the arch enemy of this kind of behavior, because Saturn just brings you to account. That's just how it happens. And as for the president himself, if he's able to stay on his 2 feet and the health threats don't take him down, then it's just going to be a political nightmare, as both his chart next year is facing these exact same headwinds from Saturn, plus all the people around him. So it should be interesting to see. And I'll finish with some added information that casts clear light on why someone such as this would have gotten a post this big at this point in her life. And for that, you almost always need some big Jupiter assistance, even if a planet like Jupiter can ultimately be a problem in that you move into something that is too big for you and then you pay the price later. But nevertheless, in terms of timing, first of all, Jupiter was in Gemini during the cycle that she was brought into this level of power. Gemini is helpful to her because it supports the Aries and Libra planets, and so that works really well. And that's on the level of transits. But something else that is very, very reflective of why at this point in her life is that in the progressions, this is a level down from the transits, but unbelievably reflective at times. I know in my own chart, these patterns are incredibly clear, the way my life evolved at different points, and it's one of the key reasons people should have their chart analyzed, because it can really provide important timelines that are extremely helpful in order to assess your own character, detect your purpose, etc. So it's the progressions as they relate to planetary stations. Stations are when planets stop, or at least appear to stop. They don't actually stop. It's an optical illusion, but that's how astrology works. When they stop, that's how you get retrograde motion, and then you get planets going direct, etc. So you look either in an ephemeris, or preferably in a computer program that provides you the information. You look to see what planets were stationary at birth or when they went into station later. And those days turn into years very precisely. And in Gabbard's case, you see the magic number 44, meaning 44 days after her birth, Jupiter stationed. This is 2025. Based on her birth, Jupiter is stationary, thereby injecting pretty much a tremendous amount of fortune, also added to the Jupiter transit as well, which just means basically lots and lots of Jupiter to help her out at this point. But Jupiter, for one thing in her chart, is part of oppositions. My sense, from what I see here as we go into next year, is there's no way out. There will be a point in there between the summer of the summer of 26 and the summer of 27, Jupiter and Leo will help her because that aligns well with her Aries and Libra planets, but then it goes into Virgo, which is totally unhelpful, with Saturn still in Aries, afflicting the situation. So sooner or later, she's going down.